Hi everyone, Scrappy Kathy here, back from a bit of a break. I thank all of you who have reached out to me, and those of you who've read a couple of my posts. I haven't posted a lot about it, but my husband kind of took a turn for the worse in his ongoing battle with Parkinson's, or at least so we thought. Turns out it was something else entirely, and he's still trying to recover from it. He's being released from the hospital tomorrow. He's been there for, since December 18th, so all through Christmas and New Year's. And he still is unable to walk, and that's something that happened over, like, one day he could walk, and 3 days later he couldn't. And it, anyway, I won't go into all of those details. I haven't felt like scrapping, and I haven't really had the time to scrap. So what I've kind of been doing is what I would call mindless fussy cutting. So I just kind of took scraps of different patterns and fussy cut. This is an old Paige Evans. This is a new Paige Evans, same here. And as I cut these, I was thinking, where on earth am I going to put them? And so I had that question, and I kept on cutting. And because these packages right here, this packaging for Ephemera, doesn't, when I cut it down the sides to make it easy to get to the things, this isn't ever, when I put it, let me kind of show you what I use for storing things. I'm sure you've seen these, and I'm not sure you can see this one clearly, but this is one of those IKEA boxes. These fit here, but then everything kind of falls out the side. So I need something that opens up at the top, and I got a birthday gift from the grandkids and my son with a whole slew of miscellaneous embellishments. And some of the embellishments were in sleeves like this. And this is one that I made myself, like I'm going to show you in a minute. But it was this size, and it just fits perfectly. I'll go back and show you. Kind of fits perfectly in there. So I decided, wow, I'd like a bunch of those sleeves. And I started to go to an online store and look for them. And I thought, well, why would I do that? Because I have literally 1 million pocket pages in all sizes and descriptions. And I have a fuse tool, which is this guy right here. And so why don't I just make my own? So I pulled out, and this isn't one that I used. I pulled out a different format that had one that had 3x4s as well as 4x6s. And these 4x6s are kind of on their sides, but they open up at the top, so I can kind of turn them this way. So I'll kind of show you, I'll do just one group of these and kind of show you how I'm going to use them. And then I've got obviously lots more to do. I've got this little box that has a lot of little houses and the matching trees that were on in that pattern paper. And I've got these houses and all of these. They're going to be stored a little bit differently, and they don't match or go with those. I wouldn't use them on the same page, so I'll probably keep them separate. This is some Vicki Boutin stuff. This is a scrap I've had. Goes with the Paige Evans. I'm going to package the Paige Evans stuff up, the Go the Scenic Route stuff up, and put it in her in this holder. But in the meantime, let's kind of get this scooched up on the table, and I'm resting it on This is it's a cutting board made from the silestone that we use to cover our island, our kitchen island in the last house we had. And they made, as a courtesy for buying the silestone from the company we bought it from the silestone dealer, he made me this cutting board. So I use it for when I'm doing things with heat, just to kind of protect the table or whatever's underneath. So I'm gonna keep this handy, and let me just take another look and see what you can see. I'm going to move everything over. We don't need to see my laptop. We do need to see this and my little fuse tool here. And this is my fuse tool holder. It gets very, very hot. So if you buy a fuse tool, don't ever lose this little stand, because you literally cannot put this down anywhere without, starting a fire or melting something. So what I'm going to do here is, this is a pocket that I'm going to use divided up into smaller sizes, but I'm going to do that later. And you can literally shape it any way you want it. Right now I'm just going to cut off these 4x6 pieces. Now I'm going to cut the part that you put on the rings in the album just below where the seam is, because I don't want to lose that seam. And this is, I have so many of these pocket pages because I invested in them, and then I kind of stopped doing pocket pages. So I've got one here. I'm just going to cut this one a little bit to the right of the seam. And I don't have to do anything with the fuse tool here because it's already got both of its side seams. So there's a pocket I can use for some of those. This next one, I'm going to cut to the right of this so that it has a bottom seam and a side seam, and then I'm going to do the side seam. So I have this little tool right here, which I wish there were a better way to kind of see where your seam is going to be, but I did a fairly decent job of guessing when I did these the last time. I'm going to turn it over because I seem to think that I can tell where that is better. So I'm going to assume this is hot enough, and you just kind of go right wherever you want that seam. If it's hot enough, it should go through both layers of this plastic cover. And if it's not, you may have to turn it over and reinforce it from the other side. And I've done that just on most of mine, just to be sure that they don't rip apart. Okay, so this kind of went a little bit close to the edge there. This is not my best job, but it actually did go through and it has held. But I'm going to just kind of reinforce it a bit right there. And I personally do not care how pretty they look. This one had, the seam is a little bit crooked, and my scissor cutting isn't ideal, isn't perfect, but the function is exactly what I want. So I've got one more seam to do on this one, and we'll maybe shoot for a little bit nicer. We could do it inside, and I do have a use for a skinnier one, so I can actually do it like this, and then I can trim on the other side. Now I'm using this upside down because it has little feet that lift it up, and I find that I make better contact with my tool if there's not as much space between the top and you know, I have less, I don't have to go so deep when I'm tracing that hole there. Okay, so that seems to have stuck, so I'm not going to reinforce that one, but what I will show you after I put that on its little holder is I can just trim this down the side. That gives me a little bit nicer look, but presto, I now have 3 storage sleeves. I forget where my other one went. There it is. 3 storage sleeves for my fussy cuts, and I can store them in the stand that I like to use, and I have about, maybe 10 more of these to make. I'll probably make a couple. You can kind of see here what I might do. Let's say I want another fairly thin one. Let's do it the way that it was intended, with the feet down, and see if I can get the kind of contact I need. You have to let it, just a word to the wise if you've never used a fuse tool, and I know lots of people who have bought them and then never used them. And I will say, when I first got it, I used it a lot because I got it when I was doing Project Life, and I had lots of different sizes of things like tickets and Christmas cards, things like that. So I took the blank pages, the 12 by 12 pages, and I made pockets in them, whatever size I needed. And in some cases, I sealed them up again with my contents inside, because I knew I'd never want to take it out, and I just didn't want it to come out. So you can see I've made this little pocket here, and I'll do my careful cutting. Again, don't want to put that on the heat. Just be careful with it. So there's another one. Now, some people I know use a special little punch that cuts kind of a half circle out of here. If that were important to me, I could kind of cut it myself or use a small circle punch halfway down. It doesn't seem to affect the way I use these things, so I probably will not do that. Now, one thing that you might notice is I cut some rows of houses, and it might be nice to have those protected inside something. So I can actually make a seam this way that's narrow and that will hold all of those. And there would be other uses for that, like when I cut and want to store the branding strips. So there are many, many ways that you can use this. And as you can see, it doesn't take long, but again, I stress, be very, very careful, because you can burn yourself. It's extremely hot, and as long as it's plugged in, it's heating. You have to unplug it. There is no little switch on it or anything. So, and for a very long time after you have used it, you need to rest it on that little stand so that you don't, so that it doesn't touch anything. The hot part doesn't touch anything. So hopefully that was helpful. I mentioned to someone that I was doing this. This was kind of my keeping sane activity while all the stuff was going on, and they asked me to do a video, so I had a few minutes today and decided to do it. I hope to be scrapping again soon, but there's a lot to do. He's moving to a rehab facility, hopefully to maybe get to walk again, or at least be able to, assist in moving around. And then in about 3 weeks, they're thinking that he might be ready to come home. So again, thank you all for your well wishes, and any prayers you have left over that you could spare for his full recovery would be much appreciated. Thank you very much, and I'm going to file this under Organize It, because that's actually what all of this is about, is organizing. And I will tell you that within that project, I have been doing a lot of organizing, but it has been to make room for the new, wheelchair and hospital bed and, things like that. So there are a few things that I will have to show you that involve crafting supplies, but that's not going to be in this video, and I'm not quite sure when I would be ready to do that. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.